So, good morning. So let me ask you a question. How many of you have seen the Olympics? Pretty sure everyone has, right? Have you guys ever watched the Olympics, whether it's Winter or Summer Olympics? What sport is the most violent sport in there? And I don't mean like violent, like killing each other, or like throwing butterfly knives at each other. I mean like just physical, like toughness in there. Some people may say it's hockey because if you've seen a hockey game, you've seen that they punch each other, they just go crazy like animals. Or even boxing, which is logical because they're throwing punches at each other. But have you ever seen a game where you're allowed to kick each other, pull each other, punch each other, scratch each other? Just I've seen biting too. And the sport I'm talking about is water polo. Water polo. So like I said, I've seen everything. I've played in games where all that has happened to me, and today I'm gonna explain to you some history behind the water polo, the rules of water polo, and just the positions in the sport of water polo. So some history of water polo. No one knows where it started. Some people say it started in India, others in Scotland or England, but for the most part, everyone agrees that it could have started in England in the late 19th century. Before it was just a aquatic version of rugby. People just didn't pass the ball, they were just shooting, or like in this picture, they were just wrestling each other. And there was no strategy behind it. The only strategy you could call, if you could call it a strategy, was they would get their suits and they would put the ball in their suits, go underwater, and come out in front of the deck, because the objective was to get the deck, put the ball on top of the deck, which seems smart until you realize that there's a goalie outside on the deck and he was allowed to jump on top of you. So yeah, that's one big headache. So the rules didn't start showing up until around mid 1880s, where this man right here, William Wilson, noticed that the game was just too barbaric. So instead of adding rugby rules, he added soccer rules. He added that you could only use one hand when operating with the ball, and you could only pressure someone if they have the ball. And after this introduction of the rules, it just spread everywhere. And in 1888, it first came to the U.S., and the U.S. was actually the first country outside of Great Britain to officially play it. And after that, it started spreading into Central Europe and into other Asian countries. And in the year 1900, that's when they added it into the Olympics, and it's been in the Olympics ever since. At the beginning of the Olympics during the 1900s to around the 1930s, Great Britain was actually the one that dominated the world in water polo. And after the 1930s, Central European countries like Montenegro, Croatia, Hungary started dominating, and they're still dominating to this day. And the men's national team actually got silver in 2008 in Beijing, and the girls' national team, they've won it ever since. They've been a very dominant global power, I guess you could say, in water polo since the introduction into the Olympics in the year 2000. And a fun fact that I'm pretty sure nobody knows, but the most decorated water polo player girl water polo player in history, her name's Brenda Villa. She actually started playing here in Commerce, and her coach from a youth age till high school was the water polo coach here at Fullerton College, Gabriel Martinez. He actually pretty much created her and taught her everything she knows. Now the game rules. A lot of people think the game's really complicated, but it's actually really simple. It's a four-quarter game. It's a four-quarter game with 8 minutes at the Olympic level, but usually high school and college level it's 7 minutes. You play, obviously you have to wear protection, so you wear a cap, and this is the ball you use. This is a men's ball, but for the most part they're all pretty much the same. Fouls occur a lot during a water polo game, and some of the most common fouls are the off-the-ball tackles, holding the ball underwater, or holding the ball with two hands. And the goalie is the only person to do that. And if there's excessive force in the foul, it's just like hockey. You get a 20-second power play, and the player that committed the foul has to enter one of these zones right here, and they have to wait until they're allowed to go back in. And then these are the 2 meters and the 4 meter areas. Any foul occurred outside of the 5 meter area, the player is allowed to shoot the ball if it's under one motion. If the foul's created right here in the 2 meters, just like soccer, they get a penalty right here from the 5 meter. Now to the positions of water polo, there's 4 main positions. There's the wings, the flats, the point, and the set. And obviously the goalie, but for like the infield players are another 4 points. And the way I like to teach it is that there's no set position. Everyone has to defend, everyone has to attack. But if I would have to call positions, I would like for the point is pretty much like the point guard of the team. He pretty much runs the plays. The flats are the drivers, the ones that create the plays and are ready to defend but if there is a counter. And the wings are the ones that attack the goals and usually create counters off defense. The set is pretty much every team's strongest player and like powerhouse. That they're the ones who create the most explosive shots from short range. And to conclude, I hope that with the history that I've told you of water polo and with the basic roles and positions of water polo, you get a better understanding of what the sport is, because I'm pretty sure not a lot of people know what the sport is. And well, I hope that you all want to try it now, and hopefully everyone gets to try it soon. Thank you.
All right, well, most of the mechanics are pretty solid. I think your introduction, your attention device could be a little bit stronger, but I did like the suspense and the reveal of the topic. I thought that worked pretty well when you got there. You have a very clear thesis statement. There's a good preview of what's going on. The content might be a little overwhelming for the amount of time that you have. You probably can't accomplish everything that you've kind of set up for yourself, so you're going to have to give us kind of the thumbnail sketch on everything. But I thought you did a pretty good job of that, explaining most of those things. The presentation factors, for the most part, everything is really solid. Your gestures are engaging. You basically are pointing out things that are necessary on the visuals when you're doing that. There's some occasional indicators when you're speaking. Your facial expression, you look like you're enjoying actually talking about the subject. This isn't a chore for you. This is something that you're interested in, and I think that helps the audience relate to that subject quite a bit. You have excellent eye contact from the very beginning. You're not dependent on notes, which I think is one of the things everybody should notice. When you are talking about something that you know well and you're talking to the audience, it's going to come across a lot differently than when you are looking at your notes in front of you. And I think we had a couple of good examples of the last couple of speeches. Your voice projects well. It's easy to hear what you have to say. I didn't notice any hesitations. It sounded like it was pretty fluent while you were speaking. I don't notice any anxiety issues either. I think maybe on the visuals there are a couple of spots where some of the images are a little bit small for us to see, but you tried to point them out and highlight them, so that's a minor quibble. Like I said, for the most part, the presentation I thought was nicely put together and delivered. All right, thank you.